Well, good evening. This is the nicest I'm going to be to you tonight. Not just because we have honored guests, which I'll get around to in a minute. In months gone by, I would be thanking you for braving the airlines and the corona and this, that, and the other thing, but all that has gone by the wayside. But I'm here and happy to acknowledge that everything I said 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 6 months ago, 3 weeks ago has come to fruition. And I hope all your little 401ks and all your little retirement plans have gone to fuck because you didn't listen to me. It could have been different. You could have shorted the market and you could have shorted crypto fuck. But I'm sure you didn't. So I'm not going to ask you how your program's worked out because I know it's worked out like dog shit. We range in age here this week from 21 to 57, I believe. The average age is 33. And we have 7 or 8 from America, 3 or so from the UK, and then from various other parts. But you're all, this is the assuming the world is flat, because you've been running your life like the world is flat, and this is the last town on the edge of the precipice into the abyss. We are the last saloon in the last town on the edge of the abyss. Some of you will heed my warnings. Some of you won't. For those of you that really work with the program, 1/3 of you will be ill in the next 3 to 6 weeks because of the exhaustion, not physical exhaustion, but mental exhaustion, because you've never worked that hard. 1 or 2 of you will go to the hospital. We may even get a hospital case this week while we're here, if we're lucky. We haven't had anybody since Brian QLA Rose came to the hardcore a couple years ago. He never believed nobody shit their pants, although he allowed me to say it on his program. He never believed people had pissed their pants. He never believed we've had seizures, passing out. He didn't believe that. And he was sitting, we didn't have corona spacing in those days. He's sitting where the young man in the back corner is, and the guy next to him was about 6 or 8 feet closer. And the guy, second from the end, I'm ranting and raving, jumping up and down as I do, went into a seizure and fell over on Brian QLA Rose's new 5,000-pound suit that he got from my tailor in London and threw up all over him, pissed his pants. We had 4 doctors in the audience. Not one, I'll say this again slow, because we have some medical doctors in the audience, not one of you went over to help the guy. We had one Australian doctor who kicked him over and said, make sure he didn't swallow his tongue. And that was the extent that the medical treatment he got from medical doctors. We had one guy who was a paramedic, fireman, finally went over and revived him, kind of. So we haven't had anybody do that. We haven't had anybody we had a guy crap their pants last seminar. As my staff will tell you, he shit all the way to the bathroom and back. MI5, is this true? Yeah, very much so. So we have had somebody crap themselves recently. And then he had the unmitigated gall, to leave the shit on, because graduation night, you go into the castle. We let you into the castle. And he left shit on where he sat. Now you see, I don't have to make this shit up. Pun intended. You're, as Stephen Hawking said in 2004, we are a 1 stage better than a monkey on a know-nothing planet, and we peaked out at its human race in about 2000, according to him. Well, which is, I've been screaming and crying to anybody that will listen to me. Not that many people listened to me 20 years ago. And but so we've had a reason to shit their pants, and so we'll see what you're good for or not good for. Now, the secret to the program, as I've seen a few of you already, is I've been asked recently in interviews, and I told them that the countless 100 to 120 hour work weeks that I did solid for 10 years solid. And she said, the interview journalist, she thought I meant 100 to 120 a month. That's where we are today. And I said, no, ma'am, a week. And she says, well, I can see why you're following so low on social media, which is true. And that's the reason that I'm the most successful guru that has the least amount of following on social media. Because they've already ascertained that they can't do that. They can't do that. Now tonight, after dinner, we'll come back here and TK, who is sitting over here on the right with his lovely wife, it will open it up to Q&A. I'm going to say more about an introduction after dinner, but I'll just say currently, he has recently broke the world's record, the QLA world's record, for deals done since he went to the regular seminar. He attended the regular seminar August of last year, and through August of this year, or actually July, August this year, he's done $348 million in business. I'm going to say it again, $348 million, with 50 employees, more or less. Correct? I'm going to say, now, your mouths are closed, but your eyes are like this now. I'm going to say it again slowly. And he's before I say it, from Mesa Shithole, Arizona. Now, I say that because I had an office in Mesa, Arizona back in the last century. And although I'm sure it's grown, but do they have a Ritz-Carlton yet in Mesa? No. They have a Walmart?
Yeah, Walmart's pretty popular.
Okay, well, they've got a Walmart. But he's done $348 million in deals. In a year. In post-corona, kind of post-corona. And during the seminar, he sat right there, if I remember correctly. And I think you asked 2 questions. You might ask 3. I only remember 2 of them. Yes, okay. You asked 3 because we have data. Now, I didn't know anything about data, but about 6 months ago, we were in Washington, D.C. for a board meeting, and my phone didn't work anymore, my U.S. cell phone. I've had the same number 25, 30 years with AT&T. So when we walked into this AT&T shop, I told Sally, they're going to sell us a phone. I mean, guaranteed. So Sally talked to him and went through all the bullshit for 30, 40 minutes, and I sat on a chair, and they sure as hell sold us a phone. And then they were talking about data. Now, I didn't ever know I had any data. I never used any data that I'm aware of. And I certainly never fucking paid for any data. So now my bill was $38 a month for decades. The first bill that comes in, I don't see the bills, but our accountant came to me and said, is there something that you changed with your phone? Because the bill is now $98. I said, I don't know. She says, you've got unlimited data. I don't really know what that means. And so so the world's changed, and we got fucked and bought a new phone who now talks to me when I don't want to talk to it. We were in a suite paying our respects to the Queen a couple of days ago in Edinburgh, and there was a Alexa in the suite. I'd say something and Alexa talked to me. I don't want to fucking talk to you, Alexa. And she said, I'm not programmed. No. And then I couldn't make the TV work. So I said, Alexa, make the TV work. I'm not connected to anyway, there's a lot of the new stuff. And we're going to have a slight, not service, but a slight, some action here on the day that the Queen gets buried, which would be Monday. Now, coincidentally, Sally, that's when the BBC wants to come. BBC's supposed to be here right now as we speak. Looking at you to see what kind of mongoloid would pay 26,000 pounds and travel this way, although the dollar's stronger. But they called up about 10 o'clock this morning or thereabouts and said they couldn't be here. So now they've asked to be here on Monday. We haven't answered them back. They want to do a documentary on me and why politics is fucked. That's not going to be the title, but That's in essence what they want to ask me. This week will be transformational. We've had people, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow. The record from leaving the seminar to doing a deal is 26 days. New deal. We're going to listen to him on a webinar. He's a young man from Belfast. But the longest is 13 years. Now, this group looks like a 13-year group to me. That means the day from you leave here till you do a deal is 13 years, almost to the day. Now, you think that's an anomaly. That can't happen. Our second worst is 12 years. Both German. Both German. And we're going to talk about some of the nuances. In fact, a girlfriend of the 13-year happens to be in the audience. Don't raise your hand. Happens to be in the audience. And she knows who I'm talking about. He never told you that, did he? He holds the world's record for the longest deal. She's pretending like she doesn't know what I'm talking about. But subsequent to that, he's done a gazillion deals and got super rich. But it took him 13 years. He's an astrophysicist, kind of guy that puts stuff on the moon. Because it doesn't pencil out. If you do the sums, if you do the numbers, or as they say in this country, if you do the maths, plural, I don't know why they call it plural, maths, it doesn't make sense. It can't make sense. No money, no experience, no knowledge, super wealth. The first question you're going to be asked is, where's the equity coming from? There isn't any. The second question, although almost all of you look old enough to be here, may be, how old are you? You won't have that problem, sir. How old are you? A question that might be asked is, how long have you been in the industry? And we have answers for all these. You're going to get a 8 gigabyte thumb drive the last day that you're here with the answers to all the questions that you never thought of. 99% of the questions that you'll ask in the next week don't need to be asked. I'll say 100%. 100% of the questions that you're going to ask don't need to be asked. 100% of the questions that you're going to ask are going to be based on your lack of self-esteem, lack of self-worth, and lack of self-confidence. Because virtually everybody in this room was not raised to be a high-performance person. And we all know who you can thank for. Your parents fucked you up. For those of you that have some experience in life and have made a few bob, a few shekels, a few dollars, a few rubles, the first thing that you'll have to do is say that I wasted 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Well, you're probably the only one that may have 30 years experience, and it's wasted, no matter how much money you may have attributed to your own account. The only person that will have any fun this week is me, because I enjoy getting paid to the extent that you call this pay for me, beating you and humiliating you and dehumanizing you, because it works. One of the questions you'll ask amongst yourselves, not in front of me, is, why is he the way he is? And I can only tell you from the bottom of my heart, or where my heart's supposed to be, because it fucking works. It fucking works. And every year it gets better. I'm not so sure I get better every year, but the results are better. I've said online, I've said in webinars and on YouTube, I've had 5 things that God gave me in my life. Sally, my 3 kids, and Corona. Motherfucking Corona is the greatest thing since sliced bread, apple pie, and motherhood for this program. This economic environment couldn't be any fucking better for QLA. I hope for your sake, as Adolf Hitler said that the Reich was going to last 1,000 years, right? I hope this lasts 1,000 fucking years. Because it's like taking candy from a baby. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's that easy. It was this easy before Corona. Because there's only one moving part in Corona, or in QLA, excuse me, and that is a motivated seller. The only thing you have to learn how to do, and we give you the scripts to do it, is learn how to identify, single out, corner, capture, metaphorically speaking, those motivated sellers. And then it's, as our daughter said when she came through the seminar when she was 12 years old, it's easy peasy, isn't it, Daddy? And she was bloody correct. It is easy peasy. It's the only game in town that you don't need any money. Zero. No knowledge. No experience. No qualifications. Fuck all nothing. And get super wealthy. Generational wealth. You as individuals will determine what you consider generational wealth. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the distinguished Hall of Famers. And we'll also discuss some of the Hall of Shamers, some of which are in jail, and how it works now. It works in virtually every part of the planet except Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia now. But I'm going to talk about how Russian industry is unloading assets because of the fact that the U.S. and various other Western countries own things there and they want out. We'll discuss that. It's a slightly more difficult part of the QLA model. But we've had people with 80 IQs and we've had people with 180 IQs. The 80 IQ has done about 40, 50 million euros in deals. The 180 IQ has done 400 million. Everybody in the room will have a tendency to make this more difficult than it is. Warren Buffett has a great saying that Sally and I went to the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders meeting earlier this year. He said the human being, Homo sapien, has this proclivity for meaning they want to make things more difficult than they have to be. And this is, unfortunately, the perfect model to want to make it more difficult because you can't believe, you can't realize that you can make something out of nothing and not know anything. Does not know anything. I'll say it now before we break for dinner. And they'll tell you where to sit. That young man over there will tell you where to sit. There are such things as stupid questions. And I will know by tomorrow noon who read all the material I told you to read and who didn't. Tonight you'll have homework. Your homework will be, you're going to listen to TK answer questions and what your takeaway from the young man is. And by the way, you're all young men. Only one person in here, I'm not old enough to be their grandfather. I'm only old enough to be your father. So, but other than that, I call everybody kids. And you'll have homework, which I'll explain a little better after we have our meal. And now I'm going to say this. You should know this because of the upbringing and the finishing schools the girls went to and the posh private schools all you other guys went to. You're going to walk in and you're going to stand behind your chair. The ladies are seated. And you're going to wait until I say, please be seated. You're not going to eat. The first people to get their food, 4 or 5 people, you don't fucking touch it. You can look at it, but you wait until I say you can eat. That's when everybody is served. And I'm sure all the posh schools you went to, the boarding schools, etc., you know that. And the finishing schools, right, doctor? That's exactly how you do it. Okay. I'm not sure they have a finishing school in Mesa. Probably not. It would have to be built since I was there. Again, I can't begin to explain to you what it is to be in Mesa, Arizona. But, I would have bet $1 million to a penny that nobody would ever be in the position you're in now at this seminar from Mesa, only because I lived there before. And so then we'll eat, and then subsequent when we're finished eating, or when I think it's appropriate that we're finished eating, or more importantly, when I ask Sally, do we have to sit here anymore? And then I'll ring a bell, and then we'll all file in here, and we'll prepare for TK's talk and the homework. Now, if you don't do the homework, and you all have Kim's email address, the homework is sent to her. Okay? If you don't turn in your homework, don't show up at 9 o'clock for class. I'm going to say it again slowly. If you don't do your fucking homework, go home. I read the homework at lunchtime, and I ascertain, are you getting it? Are you moving towards the goal line, or are you stuck on the 1 yard line? And I change the seminar, and I change the seminar slides appropriately. I have 2,600 seminar slides. If you're really a slow group, we'll see 80 or 90 of them. If you're all rocket scientists, we'll see 30 or 40 of them. And every noon, I read the homework from the night before. The only night you don't have homework is graduation night. Any questions? Good. Duncan, hit it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the nutshell.